The NGO that I was instrumental in establishing is really no longer an NGO. It is a semi-government organization now. It's part of the system of organ procurement organizations. According to the Office of Transplantation in Human Resources Administration, HRSA they call it, they have divided the whole country into regions, and in each region there are these organizations whose main job is to gather organs from deceased people, organs and tissues from deceased people, and collect them in a scientifically correct manner with appropriate consents according to the protocols, preserve them appropriately, and allocate them to the patients wherever the patients happen to be. So that's become sort of a national system, and it's evolved into a very, I think it's probably at the moment the best creation of human mind to gather the deceased organs and to allocate them with fairness, justice, and equity, etc., etc. And it's constantly evolving. It's still being improved at the national level, at the regional level. So it was in 1977 that I had gotten 6 surgeons together from the 6 transplant programs at that time, and made them sit in the back rooms of the restaurants and hammer out agreements so that we would all work together. It was very tough, you know, because surgeons have big egos, and you put 6 of them from 6 different universities into one room and try to get them to agree to a basic set. It took us a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of time, but it worked. And other people did similar things in other areas, and now it's a national system supervised by an arm of the government. There is history in India where, you know, I don't know the era when it happened, but it happened before anywhere else. They were doing transplant of the forehead skin onto the nose to reconstruct the nose. One of the punishments in Indian subcontinent years ago for somebody who had done some crime was to cut off the nose, and that person would walk around disfigured. And the surgeons of long ago had devised a technique to make a tube out of the skin of the forehead, turn it around, suture it to the nose, and later on cut it off from the forehead and leave it to reconstruct the nose. And that's the technique still being utilized by the plastic surgeons for reconstructing the nose. So, but that's an auto transplant. But the stories of, you know, transplantation of the wings and people taking a flight from one Greek island to another only to have the wax melt away when they got too close to the sun and so on, and going down into the ocean. And those are just fables and interesting stories. There are many, many paintings of those 2 saints doing this procedure of transplantation of the leg, which is still not possible even with our current knowledge. Well, it's possible, but only to a limited degree. There is really no need for transplanting legs because the artificial legs work just as well. But there is need for transplanting hands and arms because the hand is a superb instrument and nothing works quite like hand. And hand transplants have recently been fairly successful. People can hold some objects and you know, throw objects and have reasonable strength. Predicting the future is a foolish game as far as I'm concerned, but you can sort of contemplate somewhat based on where we are going today. So clearly it's not going to be possible to meet the need for the organs for transplantation because the need is much more, the demand is much more, and the supply is poor from the deceased donor organs. So already the scientists are working on two-pronged approach. One is to plan to utilize organs from animals, modified animals, if you will, and try to utilize them for transplanting into humans. And the other thought is to grow the organs in appropriate environment in the laboratory. Because after all, each cell of each individual has all the genetic material to make it grow into, any organ or a complete human being, as has been done at least in animal models. Pollies and dollies were the generations of those sheep that were evolved from just one cell. So if we could do that at a human level, I think to try to make clones of humans is probably never going to be ethically acceptable, but I hope that it'll be possible in the future to clone an organ, at least, to be able to clone a liver, to clone a heart, and maybe even to clone a kidney, which is even a more complex organ. And if that becomes possible, I think the shortage of organs might to some degree be eliminated. However, the cost factor has to be considered, and then always becomes a question that if you keep on doing this, if you put in a heart in somebody whose heart is not working well, and then put in a kidney or a liver, and then the brain is no longer functioning, and I don't think in our lifetime or in the foreseeable future we are going to be able to transplant brains, or we may be able to put new cells in the brain to regenerate some parts of it, but to transplant a whole brain is going to be difficult, and that probably will be our limit.